Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Time Out with Derek and Joe. For Joe Azelina, I am Derek Gano. Thank you for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. We bring you another top five list this time around. Today, Joe, we are doing the top five especially with the Heisman season. We will talk briefly about the Heisman. With the top five individual seasons by a Heisman Trophy winner. And we have a lot of different names, which I like to see. So, Joe, briefly, for those that don't know, let's talk briefly about the Heisman Trophy.
Sure. The Heisman Trophy Award was actually created by the Downtown Athletic Club in 1935, so many years ago.
Long time.
The first winner actually was the University of Chicago halfback in Jay Bernwanger. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing that right. And yeah, that was the first winner. So, but the Heisman actually, which I learned earlier today, it was actually named after a director of athletics, and John Heisman then passed away, and that's how it got the name. So I thought that was really interesting, and why we love to do these lists is we learn stuff about our topics. And this one, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know about it. So I did know the Downtown Athletic Club, and I did know a little bit about the Heisman. But yeah, even some of the sports journalists and previous winners get to vote, and even fans on a survey also get to vote. But Derek, the interesting thing is most of these players were running backs or halfbacks and quarterbacks. This year, we didn't get that.
No. Um, and again, we talked about it last week, there hasn't been a wide receiver to be a Heisman Trophy winner since 1991 in Desmond Howard. Um, just a couple other facts. We did mention a few episodes back Oklahoma, Ohio State, and Notre Dame all have the most Heisman Trophy winners with 7. And the only two-time winner who may show up on one of our lists is Archie Griffin, running back in 1974 and 75. Now, as Joe mentioned, so the Heisman Trophy is given annually to the most outstanding college football player in the U.S. So this season, in the wacky year of 2020, we had several people lined up. The final 4 go to New York. Now, just real quick, it's based on a point system. And as Joe mentioned, there are 927 voters. I think it's about 50 some that are previous Heisman winners. They vote, and then the rest are basically media, and then a fan vote or two. But first place votes get equal 3 points. Second place votes equal 2 points. Third place votes equal 1 point, and then a fourth place vote is nothing. So Joe, we had 4 finalists. Who are the 4 finalists this year?
Well, I won't go in any order because I don't want to give that away. People.
I got the order.
But quarterback Kyle Trask. Oh, I know you had the order. I was talking about our audience, not maybe knowing still. Oh, but yeah. No, quarterback Kyle Trask from the University of Florida, which, Derek, I thought his name was spelled Trasch, but it's actually Trask. Oh, yeah. Just phonetically, I thought that was interesting the other night. Also, it was the quarterback from Alabama, Mac Jones. So it was Jones and Trask, the quarterbacks. But then there's another quarterback that everybody knows so well, and that's quarterback from the University of Clemson and Trevor Lawrence, and wide receiver Devontae Smith from Alabama, who was an absolute beast in the Notre Dame game and all season. And I thought he was the odds-on favorite to win it. So, but they were the 4. Najee Harris was actually on the outside, but he was number 5. So running back from Alabama.
Turns out he was the winner. Devonta Smith was wide receiver from Alabama. He received 1,856 points and 400. Now again, 927 voters, 447 first place votes. So it really wasn't that close. Trevor Lawrence came in second place, QB out of Clemson, 1,187 points, 222 first place votes. Mac Jones came in third, quarterback Alabama, with 1,130 points and 138 first place votes. And then Kyle Trask was in fourth, quarterback from Florida, 737 points and 61 first place votes. Joe, a stat I pulled out of there. You mentioned Najee Harris as well. He actually finished number 5 in the voting, not since 1945, which was Army. Has there been 3 players from the same team who finished in the top 5 in Heisman voting? And Alabama got it this year with number 1, Devonta Smith, number 3, Mac Jones, quarterback, and Najee Harris finishing 5th, running back from Alabama. I guess there's no reason why they shouldn't be in the championship game on Monday, correct?
Is it a surprise that Alabama just gets all this notoriety and they really but they come through? I mean, a part of me thinks Ohio State's going to play a good game on Monday night, but excuse me, there's a lot in me that thinks that Alabama might be winning by like 3 touchdowns by the end. They just don't miss in their spots. Jones looks so poised out there, and Harris is like a bowling ball. I don't know who he reminds me of other than Derrick Henry. That's the best guy I have, I think, and that's not just because of his hair. He really runs with a purpose, and he runs over people. Like, it's scary to watch it. So, Alabama.
And then they have another receiver who could be coming back from injury, correct? I don't know if you have his name off the top of your head. I forget.
Yeah, listen, I messed up his first name last week, and I didn't
notice.
Yeah, I'm glad you didn't notice because I felt dumb afterwards. I said his first name is Javon, and to be honest with you right now, I can only remember his last name, so we're going to call him Waddle's his last name. I know that's for correct. A fact. It's Waddle. And I know I'll remember his first name. If you're looking it up, that's great, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Jalen Waddle.
That's it. So I was close. Javon, Jalen. All right.
That's
in the same ballpark. Yeah. But anyway.
So,
yeah. Well,
Devonta Smith, the winner this year, 105 receptions, 1,641 yards. As we said, first receiver since Desmond Howard to win the Heisman Trophy. 1991 was the last time it happened. Pretty crazy. And if you look at our lists, you're gonna notice a lot of running backs, which is not too much happening anymore. It just seems to be a quarterback award anymore. But Smith did have 43 touchdowns in his time at Alabama, and he is a projected top 10 pick. Seems to be the number one or number 2 off receiver off of most boards. You wonder how quick he might come off, but I mean, if he's anything like what we saw in the Notre Dame game, it wouldn't be a shock if he comes off in the top 3, 4, or 5. I would say, right, Joe? So,
Derek, do you know who number 3 is? Do you know who the third pick is?
Dolphins. They have the Texans pick.
Yeah, and guess what? Who's a quarterback in Miami, right? Yeah, exactly. Tua to Smith, because they did it before.
They already did it.
And it's going to make Eagle fans really upset if Smith goes to the Dolphins. Now, that's a whole other story, but it's been talked about. Mike Greenberg said it on ESPN's Get Up the other morning, and I was like, oh boy, Smith to the Dolphins, Eagles nightmares.
Well, that was the one thing that the Dolphins kind of lacked, right? They didn't have too many explosive playmakers offensively. They had very good defense this year, but well, we won't dive into that. This is a Heisman show.
Plenty of time for that later.
Yep. So we're gonna dive right into our top 5 lists here now. Again, we are doing the top 5 and change individual seasons by a Heisman Trophy winner. So these were the great seasons all the way, but could have been all the way back to 1935, because 1935 is when the Heisman started, as Joe said. Joe, do you want to start us off with your honorable mentions?
Yes, and I will say that I don't know Derek's, just so everybody knows. I know Derek's three guys. We have three of the same. We're gonna say that. We'll give you that spoiler. But I want to actually, I was thinking about playing a game with it, even though you know mine. For when you do yours, don't say the name right away. Give the stats and see if I can somehow guess who they are. It's fun to play a little game here in the timeout show.
I know yours, so that'll. I'll,
right. That would be But okay. But anyway, number 8, I have. He went to the University of Florida in 2007. I'll say this right now. I had some of them. Their years were so good, but some of them I just did overall because I couldn't ignore it. Some of them were so earth shattering to me. But yeah, 2007 quarterback, University of Florida Gators, threw for 20 touchdowns, ran for 20 touchdowns. To me, that was unbelievable. He set the SEC record for rushing touchdowns in the history of the conference. And he was the first sophomore ever to win the Heisman. And some would say he off the field is a better person than he was on, whether that was for show or not. It's, you don't know. He's a good guy. Mr. Tim Tebow. So I got Tim Tebow as my number 8.
My number in the Mets organization.
Well, and there it is, Derek. We didn't have to bring that up, but I did see him play at the Iron Pig Stadium, and we will get to the Mets on Monday's show. But yes, thank you for that. Number 7 is the 2018 year. He won it from the University of the Oklahoma Sooners. Lincoln Riley, I would say this is his best work, even though the guy before him won it. But he threw for 4,361 yards. He threw for 42 touchdowns, and he rushed for 1,001 yards. That would be the starter for the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
I love Kyler. Yeah. I'm a fan of Kyler.
They just keep sending them out of Oklahoma quarterbacks. Bradford, Murray, Jalen Hurts. They're just
Baker Mayfield.
Wow. Baker Mayfield,
right?
Yeah.
But think about the kid there now. If you want to watch a good show on Netflix, there's a plug. QB1 on one of the seasons had Spencer Rattler, and it's a very interesting follow. He doesn't lack any confidence, Derek. I'll tell you that much. He doesn't lack any confidence. But number 6 is a very controversial one, but he had a heck of a career. 1998 winner, running back out of the University of Texas Longhorns. He rushed for 2,427 yards, 30 touchdowns. 2 games, he rushed for 6 touchdowns. That was unbelievable. He was going to be the number 1 pick back in the mid-2000s, but the Eagles decided to take Donovan McNabb. It could only be one guy, Ricky Williams. That was something.
I mean, his NFL career was controversial, but his college career, he was one of the best to ever do it down in Texas.
Oh my God, what a great running back. Number 5 was an Oklahoma State University Cowboy. In 1988, he rushed for 2,850 yards, 44 touchdowns. In 7 games, he rushed for 200 yards, which to me, that was a little mind-boggling. Only 13 schools in 1988 rushed for more than he did. 13 different universities rushed for more than he did. Yeah. So Barry Sanders is my number 5.
Not much better to do it than Barry Sanders. Unfortunate that he decided to cut his career short, which isn't really too odd nowadays. You see a lot of players cutting their careers short just for safety reasons. But man, was he fun to watch. I even remember loving playing with him in backyard football that I played on my PC back in the day, and he was a fun character to play as. Very shifty.
Yes, and he did that with the Lions when he got to the NFL. Number 4 was probably one of my favorite non-Notre Dame players that I ever watched when I was younger. He was from the University of Michigan Wolverines. He stars on College Game Day now. The 1991 Heisman Trophy winner, caught 985 yards, 19 touchdowns. He rushed for 180 yards. 2 touchdowns. He returned 694 yards, both punt returns and kick returns, and 2 more touchdowns. It's not much better than striking the pose. Number 21, Desmond Howard. He's my number 4. Desmond.
Now, those stats might not jump out at you and say, "Oh my God," but imagine just bringing back a punt, bringing back a kick return. That just really gets a team going, and you have no idea how that just completely turns a game around. And yeah, you said it. He had the pose in the end zone, and yeah, very entertaining guy, and the last wide receiver to win before this year.
That's right. Him and Smith are like they're always going to be talked about until it happens again, which probably won't happen for a long time. Ron Dane, I'll give it away right away. University of Wisconsin, the Badgers, 1999. That guy was, talk about a running back. Rushed for 2,034 yards, 20 touchdowns. In 2 seasons, he ran for at least 2,000 yards. Mr. Ron Dane was, I thought, one of the more feared running backs of his time. And I was actually a sophomore in high school when he was running. So I got to watch him as I got a little older. But yeah, Ron Dane, I wanted to put him 2, but I think you're going to realize why I didn't put him number 2.
Just definition of a tank. That's for sure. He didn't end up being too much in the NFL, if I recall. But that Wisconsin, something up there in Wisconsin, they always seem to breed these huge running backs and these huge offensive linemen. And he was one of the benefactors was Ron Dane.
Number 2, you got to go out to the University of Southern California. And it might be somebody that, people are thinking, oh, well, now he's coming out with OJ. Not coming out with OJ. I'm going to go 1981. He rushed for 2,427 yards. He was the first back to run for 2,000 regular season yards and 23 touchdowns. And he set or tied 16 records in the same year, 1981. That's what got me, the 16 records in 1 year. Come on.
Yeah.
Former Los Angeles Raider, Marcus Allen. I mean, come on. How do you not put Marcus? I mean, he's...
If not, well, I mean, behind maybe a Barry Sanders or something like that, he's one of the best ever to have been a college player, and especially at USC, who had, as you mentioned, another amazing running back.
Iconic.
In Reggie Bush. Oh no, I mean OJ Simpson. Reggie Bush.
And Reggie Bush too.
But
that was good, Derek. I like that. Number 1 is a guy that I'm sure many people that are a little older than us, I would say. 1974. The Ohio State Buckeyes had this guy in his junior year. He rushed for 1,695 yards. Now, some of these guys had rushed for 2,000, but he still scored 12 touchdowns that year. He averaged 6.6 on the ground, and he defeated USC's Anthony Davis by 1,000 points. I thought that was key. Mr. Two-time Heisman Trophy winner, Archie Griffin.
The only 2-time winner. And at least for the foreseeable future, there won't be any, since Smith is going to the NFL. So, yes, very good list. Very good list. But let's come out with, well, I have a top 8 as well. So I'll just, you want to guess, huh? All right.
I like to.
So these honorable mentions are in no particular order. I'm just going to kind of read them. So in 1996, he threw for 4,000 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions. They won the national title, and the Florida Gators averaged 46.6 that year, and he had a passer rating of 170.6. Again, I don't know how the hell they figure out passer rating, but it's pretty high. Take my word for it. The point is that he helped to defeat a ton of top 25 teams, and that's why people say it was one of the best seasons ever, defeating the number 2 Tennessee Volunteers, number 12 Arkansas Razorbacks, number 16 Auburn Tigers, defeating Florida State, who was number 2 at the time, twice in the season, and Alabama, the number 11 team in the nation. Quarterback from Florida,
Danny Werfel.
Danny Werfel is my first honorable mention.
Okay,
that's correct.
Yeah, he threw to guys, and I know I'm dating myself, but it's one of those things I remember. Well, he threw to a receiver named Chris Doring, who never made it in the NFL. Also, guys like Ike Hilliard, who actually did make it as a Giant, I think. So some of those guys I remember, and that was me growing up again. That was me in the 90s. So very good, Derek. That's somebody I do not have on my list. I like that. Danny Werfel.
Second honorable mention is one you actually had, so probably be pretty easy. And we have a lot of the same stats. 2,427 rushing yards, ran for 30 touchdowns, as you mentioned, including the bowl game that they played. 2 games of 6 touchdowns and 5 games of 200 and plus yards. Running back from Texas in 1998. Ricky Williams.
Yeah, there you go.
So he made my honorable mention list. Hey, that is, if you look at the stats, that is one of the best seasons on here. But a lot of people say that, the competition out there was a little wonky. So, still 30 touchdowns is 30 touchdowns,
At Texas too. He's playing good teams.
Yeah.
Even TCU, A&M, Oklahoma, right? Like, I mean, they're still pretty good teams.
TCU probably wasn't there yet, but I mean,
oh, my bad.
If you have, the Oklahomas and Kansas State's was probably good back then.
Baylor, Colorado.
Snyder. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Okay.
My last honorable mention here. Quarterback. Does that narrow it down for you? No? Okay, I'll keep going. 52 touchdowns, 30 passing, 21 rushing, and 1 receiving touchdown.
Wow.
4,500 yards from scrimmage, and his key moment was bringing his Auburn Tigers back from a 24-0 deficit at Alabama, who, by the way, had one McElroy at quarterback, Julio Jones, Mark Ingram was on the team, stacked. He brought him back from a 24-0 deficit, transfer from Florida, sat out the 2009 season, quarterback from Auburn.
Cam Newton.
Cam Newton is my last honorable mention.
A good one. I like that too.
Joe, coming off sitting out a season, that's a heck of a season, especially in the SEC. And then ended up being drafted number 1 by Carolina.
Right.
I know a lot of people don't love Cam Newton.
Well, he's tough to love because he always says something or does something that's a little questionable. Wasn't he the one that stole TVs or something? Like he did something stupid.
Well, yeah, there was something
allegedly
going on with his dad and whatnot.
I don't want to say because I don't remember the whole story. I just know that he's gotten himself in trouble. And again, he didn't have a terrible season again this year. It was pretty good. He had no weapons around him.
No.
So he's talented though. You can't deny his talent. I mean, there's just no, what I mean?
He was one of the best. He was he was his own bowling ball, just 21 touchdowns, very similar to a Tim Tebow. So, getting into our top 5 list, he was mentioned on the show already, by the way. Running back.
I haven't there.
No, but he was mentioned.
Okay.
Running back rushed for 1,880 yards in 1968, 23 touchdowns, 4.9 yards a carry, and was involved in the most one-sided vote in Heisman Trophy history he got 2,853 points to Purdue's Leroy Keys, who got 1,103. 1,850 more points than Leroy. Running back from USC.
It's OJ.
It is OJ Simpson is my number 5. I mean, those stats don't. I mean, 23 touchdowns, 1,800 yards. But he was just far and above the number 2 Heisman player, which I found to be just amazing. Ended up being the number 1 pick in the draft. And
he was I think what we never saw. I think he had the most crazy speed as you see him on highlights.
Yeah.
The only thing I think about OJ, and I know this is going to be a little off topic, but I just kind of get that picture in my mind of him getting chased. And I know that's not on the football field. But again, I give you credit though, because I think it's good because we have to remember that he was a hell of an athlete. And it shouldn't ever be taken away. And but again, I would go to bed those nights and was happy I wasn't in California because I always freak out at those things. But it's true though. What a great running back, and I'm happy you mentioned him, and he deserves to be in the top 8. And I might have messed up mine a little bit at seeing that. So,
well, and there's a couple like Ricky Williams as well. And even Cam Newton. There's stuff that happened off.
We always respect each other's opinions. That's why this is why our show works, Derek. We respect each other's opinions.
Number 4. Also, I can tell you the rest of them are running backs. So, number 4, he rushed for 1,752 yards and 17 touchdowns in 11 games. I might add. Normally they play about 13. He only played in 11. 5.2 yards a carry. The reason why he's on here, I put him in the first game of the season. He left after rushing for 20 yards with a broken thumb. He came back and played in a cast the next 2 weeks, both weeks getting over 120 yards while wearing a cast on his one arm. The rest of the season, he averaged 180 plus yards in the final 8 games. You might not get this one. Running back from Georgia in 1982.
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker is my number 4. That was a tough one. Playing a few games with a cast, you can't do that as a running back.
I feel you're going to break it again because you're bracing your fall. No pun intended. I mean,
hell of a player because
you're not going to land on your. Yeah, you can't just think about it. When you get tackled, you can't pick how you're going to land. So how does that even work?
And I didn't really look into it. Like, if it was on his one hand, does that mean he could only have carried it in this hand, like his right hand? And
great point.
When you're running to the right or to the left, it's supposed to be in your left hand. But he rushed for 100. He averaged over 120 yards during those few games that he
another good
had a
one.
cast.
I love it.
That's pretty crazy. But Herschel Walker, who by the way, supposedly definitely in any other year would have also gotten the Heisman in 1981, but won. No, I'm just going to spoil it. Number 3, Marcus Allen had an even better year than he did. Marcus Allen is my number 3, running back from USC in 1981, the year before Herschel Walker's season. But he was the first at the time. Obviously, they've done it afterwards. But at the time, he was the first 2,000-yard rusher in college football. 433 carries in that season. They don't even come close to that in the NFL, and they play like 3 or 4 more games. 433 carries, 2,427 yards, 5.6 a carry, 22 touchdowns. You mentioned he set 14 NCAA records and tied the records for 2 others, so 16 total. The most 200-yard games in a row being one of them with 5. I mean, Jesus. And they, by the way, he also led the team in receptions with 34. So, wow, what a season that was for Marcus Allen. But he's my number 3, Marcus Allen.
And he's a great running back, and he did it in the NFL too. And he just was one of those guys that was reliable. I think was one of the things in like you said. And yeah, good job, good job on another good pick, Derek. And that was one of mine too.
Well, and that brings me to my final 2, which I believed to be even better than that season. Now I didn't write down the year on this one. I believe it was early 70s, 71 maybe. Led them to a national championship. 370 carries, 2,150 yards, 5.8 yards a carry, averaged 215 yards over his last 7 games. They say he won it. He was one of the best ever because he literally carried that offense to a championship at Pittsburgh. He ended up being the number 2 pick to the Dallas Cowboys. Number 2 running back was Tony Dorsett.
That's a good
now
one too.
That year, it's gonna bother me when he got that year or which year it was. Tony Dorsett.
I don't know much about him. I know he's a very good running back from the University of Pittsburgh. Good NFL career.
76 is when he won it. So he was nominated in 75 as well, but he's always known to have one of the best seasons because he, like I said, he carried that offense to a championship, and you can't imagine it being like a 9 players in the box and you just having to force your way through those guys, and that's something he probably had to do on that offense. And but still doesn't touch the season of the number 1 player who could have potentially been in our, for those that want to see our top 5 most unbreakable records video, you can look back in our older videos. But this could potentially be in there. In 11 games, he had 344 carries, 2,628 yards, 7.6 yards a carry, and 39 touchdowns, including the bowl game, by the way. He had 2,850 yards and 44 touchdowns. That is one Barry Sanders out of Oklahoma State, 1988. By the way, in 1987, he barely even played. He was only a kick returner because one Thurman Thomas, Hall of Famer for the Buffalo Bills, was in front of him.
Not too bad, right?
He comes out and rushes for his own 2,800 yards, a stat that may never be touched because that is a crazy stat. But Barry Sanders is my number 1. Joe, do you want to just run through your list real quick, and I'll run through mine to finish it up?
Sure. Number 8, I had Florida quarterback Tim Tebow, 2007. Number 7, 2018, Oklahoma quarterback Kyler Murray. Number 6, 1999 running back from Texas, Ricky Williams. Number 5, 1988 Oklahoma State Cowboy Barry Sanders. Number 4, 1991 University of Michigan Desmond Howard. Number 3, the 1999 winner University of Wisconsin Ron Dane. Number 2, 1981 University of Southern California's Marcus Allen. And number 1, the 1974 two-time Ohio State University winner Archie Griffin. Derek, you're on.
And then for my honorable mentions, I had 1996 quarterback from Florida, Danny Werfel. Another honorable mention, running back from Texas, 1998, Ricky Williams. Honorable mention, quarterback from Auburn, Cam Newton. Number 5, running back, USC, 1968, O.J. Simpson. Number 4, running back from Georgia, 1982, Herschel Walker. Number 3, running back from USC, 1981, Marcus Allen. Number 2, running back from Pittsburgh, 1976, Tony Dorsett. And number 1, 1988, Oklahoma State running back, Barry Sanders. And can I just throw out this last one? I had a very difficult time removing this one, but I want to call out Mike Rozier as well, who was the unstoppable force from the Big Red Machine, who was the running back for Nebraska in 1983. He had 2,100 yards and 29 touchdowns. And what was that? He had 200 plus yards in his last 4 games. Which that tells you how many amazing players are on here. I couldn't even put him in my list, but I wanted to call him out anyway. Mike Rozier from honorable mention from Nebraska. But Joe, that'll do it for this top 5 list. We talk about this Heisman season in 2020. Congratulations to Devonta Smith from Alabama, wide receiver. Hopefully he does well in the NFL. And then we went into our top 5 individual seasons by a Heisman Trophy winner. Last thoughts, Joseph.
Oh yeah, I just think it's interesting that we did say it that 1997 was the last time a wide receiver won.
91
or 91. I'm sorry, yeah, Desmond Howard in 91. I'm thinking 97 was Charles Woodson, who was a two-way player.
Yes.
So I got them mixed up. But anyway, Devontae Smith definitely didn't deserve it, but it's crazy how you see all these running backs and quarterbacks get that award, and now you see
looking Smith at our list. That's for sure.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I had one receiver, and it was just because I was impressed with him, even just watching him when I was younger, and didn't want to leave him off. But no, I think it just shows you, though, where college football has come to. Because even back then, quarterbacks like Joe Namath or, guys like Roger Staubach and like the older quarterbacks were such great quarterbacks, and the running game wasn't as prevalent. Now you need a really good running back. Like you need that guy that's going to be able to carry you. And I think but this is where Smith will be interesting because, he's a heck of a player. He needs to beef up. He's only 170 pounds. So he needs to get bigger, but he is supremely talented. And I never root for Alabama, but circumstances are making this happen this year. And Devontae Smith was easy to root for. And the way he carried himself the other night, I thought was of a lot of class. And I love what Nick Saban said. And again, I'm not a Nick Saban fan, but he said Mac Jones and Devontae Smith are what young people should emulate. You don't hear coaches saying that about their players because a lot of their players probably aren't role models. Let's be honest, in our day, in our society. So I'm happy for him, and I think he deserved it. And other than that, Monday will be interesting. The NFL playoffs. We got to discuss what's happening. And breaking news today, we're going to discuss a big trade that went down in baseball. And, of course, me wearing my Philly shirt and kind of DOA this year. It's not going to be easy. The New York Mets have gotten a ton better, and it's a sad day for National League East fans, except for Mets fans. So I had to throw that in there as it's a spoiler for Monday. But other than that, Derek, another good show, and always enjoy being here with you.
Absolutely, Joe. So that'll do it for this week's episode. Again, we did the top 5 individual seasons by a Heisman Trophy winner. Look out for our top 5 lists. We're trying to put one out every week or so, at least. But we've done a couple. If you missed them, go ahead back and wherever you're at. If you're on YouTube, you're on podcast platforms, Facebook, just look on back and but we've done quite a few now. So we hope that you guys enjoy the top 5 lists, and feel free to email, feel free to comment on your top 5 individual seasons by a Heisman Trophy winner or someone as Joe mentioned, that you grew up watching, that just you idolized watching during football and just amazed you with how they played. Feel free to let us know down in the comments or send us an email. We'll read it out next time. For Joe Azalina, I am Derek Ano. Thank you, as always, for taking time out of your day to spend some time with us. Stay safe. Take care.